Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of We Are M&R. I'm Tom Turnham, Director of Marketing at M&R Companies, and today I've got Allison Lupski with me. Allison, do you want to tell everybody just who you are and just a little bit about your company real quick?
Okay. All right. Yeah. My name is Allison Lupski. I'm here. I'm in Fort Myers, Florida, and a company that just recently went auto became part of the Blue Crew, so that's pretty exciting.
It's
And
awesome.
I've been printing, yeah, been printing now about 6 years almost. I guess not
Wow.
officially printing. I was printing for like I guess 5, but
Mhm.
the company about got was formed for ish around 6 years ago,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and
So did you
so
start manually then, right?
oh yeah, yeah,
Start
yeah,
manually printing? Like
yeah,
solo printing?
yeah. Manually printing. I started not printing at all. Funny
Oh,
enough.
really? Well,
Yeah.
what do you mean? What do you mean by you started not printing? You were just doing like, were you doing just like heat press or were you doing like gems on there and that sort of thing? Or that's
Uh,
probably not the right term. Bling.
no,
Putting bling on
I
your
was
shirts? What were you doing?
I was subbing out my printing in the
Oh,
beginning.
I got you. Okay.
It wasn't like originally um, supposed to be like a full blown. Like I was gonna just do it as kind of side hustle. I got a small embroidery machine and then I was subbing out my printing and then it got kind of like quickly I was like, oh, I like this business. I want to
Hmm.
kind of jump all in. And then I took a class on screen printing for like it was like a
Hmm.
2 day course, and
Sure.
then I like jumped in and was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a screen printer now. It's kind of
It's
an
such a weird
accident.
thing, isn't it? It's addictive though. There's something about printing, and I've seen it with multiple companies as a startup. Like when you first get your hands on and you actually shear the ink off the screen, the first couple shirts, and you peel it up, and maybe it doesn't work right the first time, but then the first time you get a really clean print,
Oh
you're
yeah,
just like, there's a feeling to it, right? There's something about it. It's just like,
yeah.
yes, I did that.
It definitely does. There's still even now like years in, and you hit something just right. It's a real good feeling, and
It's a rush, yeah. I mean, and then you see the client gets excited. You hand it off to your client, and they're just like, "Wow, oh, that looks great!" Like they're weren't expecting it to be as good as it is, or something. And then they just get really excited, and it kind of goes from there. And I think that's a big part of it. It's the excitement, and then. But you did, originally I talked to our representative down there, Tim Foreman, who is just one of my favorite people in the world. I mean, he's just such an amazing guy, and
he's
I mean he's like, I mean, if you tried to make a mixture of the sort of ideal human, I think it would end up being Tim Form as like you pour a part pastor in there and his southern charm and like all these different things. And just ever since I first met him, I was like, he's just like one from the old Tennessee Williams play or something. He's such an amazing guy. And he told me about your story and he said, "Oh, you got to talk to this young lady, and she's just doing such amazing things in her life." And so yeah, I wanted to hear your story. So maybe if you want to tell me your kind of like inception story or just share a brief version of that. I think everybody'd
like
like to hear it.
how I ended up with like being a screen printer and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, yes, I loved him. He's great. He was
Oh
he
yeah.
was so like totally treated me like family ever since we talked. Was just willing that we talked. I think one night for like about an hour. And like he's really really kind. But
Yeah. 100%.
um, yeah. So I guess I'll try and like make it kind of in a nutshell. But so I moved. I was actually lived in the East Coast for 10 years, and then I was pregnant with my son, and I wanted to come home and be with family.
Mhm.
And so I moved home and was kind of like, gonna pursue a career in just like teaching, something that was really like calm. And my sister and I were talking, and she had the idea. She's like, well, let's get this embroidery machine. You'll do that on like for like a side hustle, some extra income. And I was like, okay. And she's like, it's about printing and this and that. And um, yeah, so that's what I meant. Like at first, I didn't even print at all, and now we're still good buddies. My friend Jordan at Garage Shirts, he did all my printing in the beginning, and as like you get more and more clients, and you get more excited, and you learn more about the business. I just became like a total print nerd. Like I loved it. I like to watch videos. I was like so interested in it, And then yeah, I took that course and then you know, jumped in and got like a starter, like entrepreneur, set up with I got a 6 color manual, an exposure unit, heat press, um, and then like jumped in from there. And
Hmm.
I'm one of those like super fortunate people to have like an amazing family behind me that has like supported me along the way in like every way possible. And then so it started in a shed in the backyard of my sister's property. So, I was at my little single head embroidery machine, doing jobs. And then when I got the startup package, I found a shop locally, um, moved there, and then just kind of jumped in. Orders started coming in, and it was just like, well, better swim, figure it
If
out.
you do good work, that's what happens. It's such a weird thing initially because if you do good work, especially even if you're not perfect all the time, but you own it. You know what I mean? You own your lack of perfection kind of when you're starting out. People
Mhm.
just have a lot of desire to see people get ahead and succeed, and so you can kind of play on that. But it also helps if you have a certain level of commitment, you know. And obviously you got a certain level of commitment because otherwise you wouldn't have reached where you're at now, which is a I mean, you reach a certain level, and I've talked about this before with people on the show that are interviewed, but it's just like when you make that tipping point to go to auto, what is that like? What is that feeling like?
Mhm.
I mean, I know there's this pit in your stomach, right? Like, oh my gosh. But at the same time, there's this thought of just change and opportunity and growth and everything else. So maybe talk to that a little bit if you don't mind. Like, what was that like?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I had wanted to go auto for a long time, and so I was like, it's so busy here, and so like I had kept a really good relationship with my buddy who used to do my printing, and I had bought in a big embroidery machine, and he didn't have one, and he had an auto, and I didn't have one, so I'd be like, hey, I got like a larger run, like I can come by, and so we trade off. So I was like, okay, I'll take care of your embroidery, I'll come by and do my long runs. But it got to the point where it's just like it was just too much, and
Yeah,
it's so daunting to come to work and know that you can't physically, pull that many shirts in a day. You
it's a
just
tipping
can't.
point, right?
You
Yeah.
just can't manually, and it's great. Like I like printing, but it got to the point where it's just like, all right, it's time, time. So, um, yeah, I reached out. I can't remember if I exactly how I did it, but I think I messaged the guys at the shirt show, like, and
Hmm.
I was like, hey,
Sure.
can like you guys put me in touch with M&R? And then
Yeah.
Tim called, and
Hmm.
Danny from Screen Process, and then we started
Oh,
talking.
Andy's great. Yeah.
Yeah, super super awesome, and
Yeah.
we got
100%.
to talking, and I had always really admired M&R and shops that had the machinery, and you look at it and it's a different animal. And so
Hmm.
finally, when I was like ready to and get an auto, and ever since it's been here, it's like finding that like super fun part of printing again. Like it can all get done, so it's not like daunting anymore, and it kind of it's like fun again, and it's
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, it's a cool thing to see people experience it because it goes from sweat equity all of a sudden, right? Where you're just literally like every shirt there's an effort into every single shirt to, okay, now I'm looking at the order to order. You know what I mean? It's like now I'm just looking at, okay, how much time is it going to take to finish this project? So it kind
Right.
of, it like goes from index of one at a time to all of a sudden now you're kind of project. And then before you know it, you're going to be staging all your orders in a row if you're not doing that already and putting things on cards. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And then you start thinking about your whole week and even your whole
Oh
next 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And versus going, okay, I hope I make it till tomorrow and I can get everything done. And then I'm like, should I take the day off on Sunday or should I work? And it's just like, you know what I mean, right? It's like it's a
yeah. Oh,
different thing.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. It definitely it it makes it much more manageable, and when you can like put a few folding tables out packed with shirts, and know that you can get through it that day, and that's exciting. And like when you have to do like manually print multicolored jobs, oh man, it's going to take me so long, Whereas like when you start the auto and you see it go, and then all of a sudden like five of them are going at once, and you
Oh yeah.
that's
Yep.
that's pretty cool.
It's cool. Yeah, it's cool
Mhm.
because you're just like putting the shirts on and you're just like, okay, that's done, that's done, that's done. It's a way different thing, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I always say like the one thing it also puts on is it puts an emphasis in the bottle. It takes the bottlenecks off of the printing, and a lot of times it kicks it forward, right? And then you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get the art done faster. Oh my gosh, I got to get the
Mhm.
screens done faster. Like, oh, this is waiting now for art. It's waiting for approvals. It's waiting for screen. So it puts a lot more emphasis and energy back towards, and if you're, depending on the size of your business and what you have, how many people you have managing different parts of it, it becomes
Mhm.
really interesting then, because all of a sudden you're like, wait, I need somebody to unpack all these boxes because I'm too
Yeah.
busy, you know what I mean, doing these other things. But what would you say is, from your company, what makes you different than other printers? Like, is there something specific you focus on? Is it the art? Because some people do focus on the art. Some people focus on the service. Some people focus on some of the techniques they use. What would you say makes you kind of a little bit unique?
Yeah, I think from the beginning, I always had like a big emphasis on customer service. Like if you needed something, I'm like, all right, well, do you have shirts currently? Like, what do you like about them? Like, how can I help in that way? So like, or if somebody calls and like, hey, like we're in a pinch, like can you make this happen? Like, yeah, yeah, I'll stay till 9 p.m. and make that happen. Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
you have a photo shoot for your company, sure. Like, so for me, it's always been that. Like, just take real good care, and like you said, be real honest. If I have something that's on press and I'm not happy about it, like, I will let them know, hey, listen, I don't want to print this. I'm going to make changes, and usually they appreciate that more than anything. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how it's grown, and I'm real fortunate. A lot of the clientele base I've had has stayed with me since the beginning, kind of
Mm-hmm.
seen everything grow, and
For
remembered
sure.
my son in like a little pack and play and like a little play area at the shop, hanging out with me as a baby, and then
Mm-hmm.
like now see where the shops come. So that's pretty awesome to have people stay that loyal as
Yeah, it is
customers.
awesome. Now, I can't not notice your awesome T-Rex on top of your press, which I definitely appreciate, Van Jurassic Park and everything. So that's cool. I mean, does it tie into your whole image of your shop at all, or is it just a fun thing you just have up there?
No, no, I was telling Maggie, I asked my son this morning on the way to bring him to school, he's in kindergarten, and I was like, hey, buddy, or actually, I asked him this morning while we were getting ready for school. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, buddy, do you mind if I bring your it's a Carnotaurus, actually, and
Mm-hmm.
there's little horns, the light kind of makes it, you can't see.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just
Um,
not dinosaur savvy. Oh, that's me.
oh, believe me, I wasn't. Now I know them all.
Oh,
But
okay, perfect.
I was like, hey, buddy, can I bring your Carnotaurus to the shop today? And he's like, why? And I was like, well, I have that meeting, and I wanted to put him on top of the press. And he's like, oh yeah, you can bring him. I'll go get him right now. So he went in this little room, grabbed the Carnotaurus, and like we hopped in the truck and like headed to work. And then he was like, hey, mama, I'm like, do you think you're gonna print with him up there on the big machine later? And I was like, do you think I should? And he's like, yeah. So I think he'll be there for a while. So that's just
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like that's like my buddy being here with me.
that's awesome.
He's at school, but I got his Carnotaurus, so we're all right.
Yeah. You can threaten anybody helping you. You can say, hey, I'm going to feed you the car stores if you don't keep up. I mean, there's different ways you can do it. We had a funny little story. A lot of people have seen it, but we had a squirrel that broke into our place, and it was having a party in the
I've
ink.
seen it.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
it was having a party in the ink, and he was leaving little squirrel footprints, and then he was running. He would
I
jump in
it
the ink.
wasn't it on like the cameras too, like looking at
Yeah,
the cameras.
we had
Yeah,
him on the
yeah,
camera.
I've
We
seen
caught
it.
him on camera a bunch of times. And of course, we got a bunch of excessive humanitarians here, which I totally support. And they're like, we have to gently trap him. So they gently trapped him, with this like food nut. I don't know what they put, walnuts in there or something. I don't know what they put in there. And I don't exactly know the entire story, so the production is gonna be mad at me when they see this. But they like trapped him, and they like drove him like 2 miles away. And like 2 days
Did
later,
he
he was
come back?
back again. He was
Yeah,
back again. He's like,
that's
I didn't
funny.
know squirrels could be like Lassie and find their way back home, and he found his way back home. And sure enough, and he found a way into the factory and he's partying in the ink again,
You should have given him a
jacking it
mini
all over.
squeegee and like let him get at it. Like,
100%.
hey,
I thought
if you're
about it,
gonna be here, you better
we
print
got a little squirrel
something.
tattoo in memorandum because the next time we got him, we drove him like 10 miles away. And so far, he must have. found another printing place to hang out at. So
Yeah.
I think there was enough options that he decided not to come back. But
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
he's good
interesting.
taste, so
Yeah,
let him
well,
let
different
him live.
different hobbies. You have to have different mascots for your shop, But
Yeah.
so what would you say to other printers that are starting out, that maybe either are, kind of maybe feel stuck at manual level or stuck at a small level and want to grow? Is there any thoughts as far as growing and getting bigger or getting to that jump where maybe they want to go into an automatic? And because I know you were saying that you wish you would have done it sooner, kind of, or you were implying that. What would you say to printers that maybe have been sitting there for a year or two? Do you have something that you could say?
Well, and to like clarify that, so I had went and got a forehead embroidery machine,
Hmm.
and as a young company, you can't get like a ton of money. So
Right.
at that time, printing was totally manageable.
Hmm.
Um, and then when it didn't, I was like, oh man, now I gotta wait. So that's why I was like, oh, I wish I would have done it sooner because I probably should have went automated printed before I went bigger embroidery. But you live and you learn. Business is just kind of like that. And like to any of the other printers that like want to go auto or like have that same feeling where it's like so daunting to get through the day, just know, you keep going, you keep feeding it, like eventually it'll get there. And when you do, it's the best. So it's worth it. It's definitely worth every bit of like the fight.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Yeah.
In
I
this
mean,
case, it's not a mirage, right? There's a real oasis at the end if you can get there because it changes. It's a big change to your business. And what is the biggest change that you feel? Is it that you've had with your? Is it going auto? Do you think, or is there been other things? Consolidation? Did you systemize things? You know,
no, I mean, yeah, I think auto is such a turning point that it
yeah,
kind of like gets me to the point where I can do all the things I wanted to do. Like I
yeah,
found it, if you want help, like right now I'm going to be actively looking for a press assistant for me and like some help. But when you're a
hmm,
manual printer, to hire is very difficult because one, manual printing is slow, too. It's pretty rare, like, and then it takes time to get good. So like to train somebody, it just was not really an option. So I ended up just like doing everything,
yeah,
and that's hard. So I think that with the auto, it's going to bring so much. Like I have so many plans and changes and stuff, but mainly, yeah, like, yeah, I can finally have some help. And I mean, because it's a lot easier to teach somebody to pull shirts off and put them through the dryer and, sort and pack than it is to teach somebody to pull a squeegee. I mean, it's hard.
yeah. No, for
It takes
sure.
time to get good at, like,
No, it
so
does. It's an interesting thing. Like you can't learn how to print manually on a video. You can
no,
you can you can you
no,
can hear about the techniques. It's kind of like trying to learn how to swim from watching a video. It's like there's
yeah,
so much sensory things to the right amount of angle, pressure, consistency, using your weight, rocking back and forth. You're basically trying to make yourself into a machine. And in a lot of cases, pushing is actually easier than pulling if you're doing a volume of order, and especially depending on your ink viscosity that you're using. But none of that is something you really can learn from watching somebody, right? It's like you have to get in there.
and there's sometimes too, like I'm not particularly tall, and like as a girl, like sometimes you pull in white, it's painful, and
Oh, it
you know,
hurts. Yeah.
pushing's just way easier. But there's times too where you can get away with it because maybe you have like a two color and it's completely trapped. The white's just an underbase. Well, if you push that white, you ain't gonna see it because when you pull the next color, it's
Right.
super crisp and clean. There is no shadow. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's definitely, I think it's different too for everybody when they manually print because everybody holds their body different, and they're like, I think even height, weight, everything affects it. So
Yeah.
you really can't on videos. And there's like the swing too. Like when I first started watching videos, I was what? You know?
Yeah. Well, everybody's so weird. Sometimes people flare their elbows way out, and they're doing weird stuff, and they got some funky squeegees out there. I've seen some pretty interesting techniques to put ink down, but
Yeah.
over the years, and then you look back at it, and when you see an auto go, you're just like, oh wait, we're way overcomplicating this thing. It's like
Yeah.
just simplify it, just get it done, and then you can focus on things like the artwork, and
Mhm.
making the best print quality or best prints that you do. But well, I want
Yeah.
to respect your time today, and I really appreciate you sharing your story and this, I think this will help other printers that maybe are on the fence, thinking about, should I go auto? And maybe there's people out that are, thinking that, they just want to stay small, or they want to stay comfortable, but they don't really see all the potential advantages of taking that little next step in the business, So how would you want people to reach out with you if there's other people that maybe want to hear more details, or maybe think it would be a good idea to collaborate with you and that sort of thing? Do you have a preferred way that people contact you?
Well, I guess like mainly people email me,
Yeah, email you. Okay.
customcareer@gmail.com, or I have an Instagram, um, like Custom Crewer SFL, that you can always reach out there too, or see what's up.
Okay.
I'm pretty inactive on it. I try, but there's not a lot of time. So I like run
No.
out of time where I'll like even take pictures and like never post them because I'm like, oh, the day like got away from
And you're
me.
like, oops.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
No, I know. Well, it's
I
tough because
aspire to do more of that now. Like I think
yeah.
this is gonna like be able to kind of bring that kind of life back into
Well,
it. And
people are
like
going to be asking you now. People are going to be
oh
like, hey, show me more of your shop.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want to thank you so much for being willing to chat with us today. And again, this will go out to the Blue Crew community, and we're so excited to have you as part of the Blue Crew group, and we can't wait to start doing in-person get-togethers and meetups, real soon. I feel like that's going to happen this year. So
uh,
it'd be exciting to have you and all the other Blue Crew people to get together. I think that'd be
yeah.
super fun. So
I'd love to be a part of that for
yeah,
sure. And like there was something I wanted to say. Oh, I wanted to say one thing too, like for any of the shops that like don't know or like they're not sure if they should go auto, but you don't have to be like the biggest company to do it. And it didn't like it didn't open more doors than you'll ever imagine. So I think like if it's financially feasible, go auto like sooner rather than later.
mhm.
And like and
No,
then
and I, obviously, I being director of marketing for M&R, but I not being in the sales part of it, I just hear people's stories. I let people tell their own stories, and so many people have said they're just like, oh my gosh, I waited a year and a half longer than I should have. And if you talk to I think if you talk to people like Danny, from Screen
yeah,
Process, they're not going to steer you wrong. Like, and Tim's not going to tell you to do something that's going to be bad for you. It's like
yeah,
those, you deal with good people. They're going to say, no, you can do this, and if you do this, this is what's going to happen, and they can lay out the whole plan for you. So it's like
yeah,
it gives you a lot of good feelings when they've seen people do it over and over and over, and they can show you a path, and you can just go right along that path, and you're going to be fine. And not only fine, you're going to be better than fine. And
yeah.
I'd be really excited. Hopefully your Blue Crew tour is coming south soon, so we hope to
Yeah,
stop
come
by.
on by. We're
There's
gonna go
there's
fishing.
lots of good weather in Fort Myers, so
That's right.
we'll have to
It's
stop
beautiful.
by and see the rest of your shop. So and yeah, we'll be so excited to come down there and see you, and we'd
Yeah,
love to see
please
some of your
do.
and show me whatever prints you can as well. If you got some prints
Okay.
that you want to share, or you printing some promo stuff for your shop, and you
All
and
right.
yeah, for your website and all that other stuff. Yeah, we'll splash
Yeah.
it up there, and honestly, like, stay in touch. We'll circle back with you. All right, I want to respect your time. Thank you so much
Okay.
again.
Yeah, I better go print some t-shirts, guys.
Yeah, you got to do it. All right.
Thanks,
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Allison.
All
Nice
righty.
to meet
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.